dance with my vacuum cleaner today.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, that's a good dance. That's a good partner.
Yeah.
Who lives, you or the vacuum cleaner?
We didn't pick up a lot of stuff.
That was good, Catherine. That was good. Y'all ready? I don't want to hurry y'all up. It's 10 o'clock.
We ready?
We're ready.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so very much for sharing with us this day. What a great day it is to be a part of this great webinar, Be Your Own Boss, Starting and Financing a Small Business. And I'm sure that everyone that's here and sharing with us today is geared up and ready to get that new business started. So we hope today that something is said and something that you hear or something that you may even want to find out more about in helping you to get your small business started. And that's what we're here for, is to help you get on the way. Of course, we know that in this time that we're having now, with things are going on, the election, pandemic, and all these other things that try to be a hindrance and a block for us, what we've learned at Small Business Development Center, that nothing can stop you from trying to get to that dream that you've always had of being your own business, starting your own business, being your own boss. And so what we're wanting to do today is to help you to make that dream become a reality. Mark Twain once said, the secret to getting ahead is getting started. And that's what you got to do. You just got to get out there and get started. Like Catherine said with that vacuum this morning, I'm just going to get started. We're just going to pick up a lot of things. So what you got to do is you just got to get out there and you just got to get started. Once you get started and get to working on it, before you know it, you'll be getting those keys and you'll be opening that door, or you'll be starting that new business. And so that's what we're looking forward to, and that's what we're hoping that you're going to gain from this webinar today. I want to introduce you to, let me tell you who I am. I am Lindora Baker, and I am the Louisiana Small Business Development Center statewide training coordinator. And I will be your host today, and I am very excited and pleased to be a host for you today. Let me introduce you to our great State Director, Ms. Carla Holland, and I want her to give a shout out to everybody this morning and tell you all a little bit about what we do around SBDC.
Good morning, everyone. As Lindora said, I am Carla Holland. I am the State Director for the Louisiana Small Business Development Center. And I want to welcome you all to our workshop and to say thank you for spending an hour of your Saturday with the SBDC team. When we talk about the Small Business Development Center, it is a national program. There are 62 networks with over 1,000 service centers. Working with the Small Business Development Center as a network, we help start new businesses every 32 minutes. We help create new jobs every 5.3 minutes. And we help businesses have access to $100,000 in capital on average every 9.4 minutes. We make $100,000 in new sales every 8 minutes.
Wow, that's great.
The program is national. We have resources. And I know that Roman is going to give you more about Louisiana's SBDC. But I want to share with you that starting a business, as Lindora said, is just about getting started. I had a business of my own that I started when I lived in Philadelphia, and God opened doors where creating my own business gave me a sense of reward. I got a chance to make my own decisions about whether I worked or didn't work. They gave me freedom and flexibility, and it was an awesome experience. And it also fueled my experience for this position. So I don't want to take up a lot of time. I just want to say you're off to a good start. And if you don't remember anything else that I've said, remember, you can do this.
There you go. That's it.
You can do this. Lindora, back to you.
Thank you so very much. And thank you so much for coming and sharing with us this morning, Carla, and giving a shout out to all of our participants. I'm not going to take up a lot of time because we have two great speakers for you today. First, we have we have Mr. Roman Stearns, who is the senior consultant for the state of Louisiana. He's going to tell you about Louisiana Small Business Development Center and the things that we offer. And then next, after Mr. Stearns, we'll hear from Ms. Catherine Freelow of LiftFund, who is the financial guru, and she will talk to you and give you some great pointers on how do you get your business financed, and even ways that you can get your financing for your business. So we're not going to take up any more time. We're going to let our speakers have the floor. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We love what we do, and we're excited whenever someone starts a new business. It's a whole new world for everyone, and it just makes everybody happy whenever someone starts their own business and tries to make their dreams come true. So at the Small Business Development Center, we service all 64 parishes, and we have centers strategically located all around the state to assist everybody. We help with your startup like we're talking about today, and we keep with your business all through your life cycle. So we want to advise everyone constantly through their whole lifespan of their business, all the way up to where they sell it, give it to their children, or just close it down. We always like to stay with everybody. How do I do the next slide?
Oh, I got it.
Gotcha.
Just say next slide.
Okay. Again, we're taxpayer funded through a combination of LED, Louisiana Economic Development, the SBA, and host universities throughout the state. So our assistance to you is always taxpayer funded, with no cost. We do offer some no cost to low cost workshops and training, which is on our website. And then we also mainly offer one-on-one counseling to help you through your personal needs. Okay. So our mission is to facilitate, the formation and growth of your business. Like we said, one-on-one counseling, that's our main goal, is to help assist a person to person, because everyone has different needs, everyone has different goals, everyone has different situations. So we like to help contour what's best for you and advise you on what's best for you going forward and the steps you need. These are our local partners. Like I said, we're funded by these. They're our partners. We're also partners with a lot of other local economic development engines, such as South Central Planning and other chambers of commerce, and of course, SCORE and LED. Everybody, we kind of work as a team. We want to help you as best we can. We try to share information, not your information, but share information as far as what the needs are for clients in the region, clients in an area, what they could use, how we could help them better. So some of the reasons to, of course, go into your own business: you want to be your own boss, you want to have control of your own life, you want to have control of your own schedule, you want that financial security. Everything you desire, you can achieve by being in business for yourself. On this, are you an entrepreneur or manager? This is some of your skill set. And sometimes when we discuss you opening your own business, starting your own business, we like to get questions and answers with you to see what your main interests are. Are you a manager, entrepreneur? Will you work long hours? Are responsible with your credit? Can you handle pressure? Does your family support you? Is this a hobby or an interest? Or what is this venture to you? Of course, there's risk. There's always uncertainty. Sometimes there's living paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes it's not even that. There's all types of instability that you might have to go through. So some of the things we'd like to prepare you for and just let you know that a lot of people have these troubles. Matter of fact, almost everyone that has a small business at one time or another, or even now, are struggling with all of these things. And when you go through them, we like to walk you through these stages or be there with you in these stages and let you know, hey, this is normal, or that mistake you made, that's what everybody does. You can easily overcome this. This happens all the time. And when you know that, when you hear that, you realize, okay, you don't beat yourself up over a small mistake. or that you know that it is a struggle to get to this stage that you're trying to get to. It's not abnormal. It's not you. It's not the situation. So those are some of the things. And besides giving you fundamentals on your business or helping you with your business plan, which we do, or prepare you for the bank, the loan package, a lot of it is just like we talked about. It's encouraging you. It's being there for you. It lets you know, hey, you can overcome that. That's not a big deal. That's a problem. Let's fix it. Or that's something that everybody, or everybody has a problem. So these are some of the negatives. A lot of small businesses fail in the first 5 years. They fail all the time. But if you plan for things, if you really look at the fundamentals, if you do things the right way, then you reduce that failure rate because you gain a lot of skills, a lot of necessarily knowledge that you have. So on how to start your business, we like to talk about what type of business you're doing, what type of interest you have, your background in that business. And when you do that, that's kind of part of the business plan, part of the business concept. Your management section is, a lot of the times it just starts with you, who you are, what your experiences are. And this is especially relevant to this field that you're going through. So we go through these steps with you, and that's part of the business plan is, who you are, what your goals are, where do you want to be, who do you want to sell to or market to, how are you going to market to those people, how you're going to have the money or need the money to finance the venture or to keep going. What do you think you're going to be able to do in this market? Is this market appropriate for your services? Or maybe you might have to tweak it a bit and target a niche, meaning a specialty. Those are some of the things we work on or go over in our counseling sessions to get your concept, your skill set, and your questions answered in that, so you could have a blueprint going forward. And that's what the business plan a lot is a blueprint. What we do also is we walk you through some of these legal steps, or sometimes they're a little intimidating if you don't know what to do to start with, and you think everything start with a business. But when you do step by step, like Lindora said, the first thing to do is actually start. When you do one little task and then another, you start building on you're actually doing and starting this business. And part of it is registering with the Secretary of State. And we have that Go Biz portal with the GEAUX for LSU, the Go Biz portal with the Secretary of State, which makes it very easy and simple to register your business and get the paperwork necessary to get to the insurance company or the bank or any type of creditor that you may be soliciting. We also help you and look up and try to get you all the permits, licenses, training. There's all types of certifications we assist with in our training, our seminar sessions. There's small business certification. There's minority-owned certification. There's women-owned certification. A lot of these things help if you're targeting government contracts or if you're trying to get maybe some type of assistance from some specialty organizations throughout the state that's vested in your economic interests. So that's part of the business concepts, part of the business plan. Whenever we do one-on-one counseling, and I especially do this, is I go over all the questions that would basically be in a business plan. What products and services you offer? What is your competitive advantage? How are you different from the people that are out there now? Is there a need for your services in this community right now? Or is it saturated? Or is everybody doing it? And if everybody's doing this, it goes back to do I have a competitive advantage? Do I have my service? Is it different from theirs? Is it better? Is it more cost effective? Or is it going to provide them with value that others aren't providing? So those are some of the things that we look at and we discuss in our meetings just to let you know, let you get a feel for, let you answer those questions. And then you come out with a more of a knowledge base about what you want to do, what you can do, and the track you think you're going to run. And again, some of these questions and things we're going over are exactly what's in a business plan. A lot of people are intimidated by a business plan, but all it is things that you think about, but you think about them thoroughly, especially with a question and answer or you just discussion. you're thinking about these things thoroughly, and we look up research and we combine those elements together, and we discover a good pathway. If you discover a pathway for yourself, a blueprint for your future. So whenever you form a business, they try to simplify the structures for everyone. And so the easiest one to do is a sole proprietor. So if, let's say, I'm an insurance, I get my insurance license and I sell independently as insurance. Well, I could be a sole proprietor and just use my name and not really form a legal business. And that's what sole proprietors are for. It's for maybe a painter, some type of custodian, and just do contract work. You might just have a sole proprietor where you don't really get too involved with any legal entity. And those are very simple to do, simple on the taxes. The only problem is whenever you do that, you are personally liable. So if I had a cleaning service and I didn't form a company and it was just me, and I broke all the dishes in the house, then I'd be personally liable for those damages. So that's some of the reasons why when you do a sole proprietor, which anyone could do at any moment, we kind of want to go over to make sure that you don't have a service or some type of product that would make you liable. Which goes to our next step. There's several different companies, type of formations. The most common is a LLC. It's a limited liability company. I have several. A lot of people usually do the LLC, especially if they're by themselves or if they just have one or two partners. The taxes are very easy. You don't have to do a whole lot. There's like a 2-page tax form that you attach to your 1040 personal taxes. And it makes you very simple. You can even do your own taxes. I'm not saying to do that, but it makes it very simple, and you're able to have the protection of a company. You're able to, most of the time, not be personally liable unless you do something they call commingled funds. So if you have a debit card, let's say, that's in an LLC's name in a business account, you use it for personal things like shopping at Albertsons or Walmart or whatever for personal items, that kind of muddies the water, and you might lose your legal protection by doing that. They call that commingled funds. But if you separate your business from your personal, the limited liability company will protect you from those type of things. Again, as we get bigger, you can always upgrade your LLC. I call it upgrade. You can always change it to an S Corp or a C Corp. An S Corp is basically, it's similar to the LLC, except if you have a lot of investors or shareholders. So if I had 20 people, 50 people, 60 people that were part owners of my company, that maybe were investors, I would probably have an S Corp to be able to handle that legal entity versus an LLC where I might have 3 partners or 2 partners. And then once you get past and there's different levels with the SBA about what they consider a small business versus a large business. But a C Corp is one where the employees are, the entity is taxed twice. So you have to pay a corporate tax and an individual owners, which are shareholders. They have to pay on those as well. They get dividends for their ownership share. So that's a large entity. It's not necessary most of the time for small business. It's actually rarely necessary unless you're very large, and I usually recommend an S Corp at that level as well. So the business plan we discussed a little bit. I usually, whenever we counsel one-on-one, we go over every detail of your business. I do that personally with my counseling, which is I go over just questions. Hey, how are you going to do this? Or what's your plan for this? And you're basically answering the business plan. You're basically going over the business plan. And it's not intimidating once you've worked out some of the questions. It's just like, oh, I just need to codify this by writing it down. And there's a huge difference between verbalizing, even that, and actually writing it down. And you actually become more complex as far as thinking and strategy when you codify it or write it down or think about what you would actually put down if someone else read it about what you're going to do. And it helps you form your business your blueprint for the future, your roadmap. It's an excellent tool to do that. And some people, maybe they're a little small, they don't really need a full-fledged business plan, but thinking over these concepts out loud is virtually the same thing. Okay. And like I said, we talked about what the purpose is. You know, you want to, if someone else read it, they would like to, they'd see where you are going. The bank would see what you're doing if it's feasible. So a lot of times the banks, I know Ms. Catherine's going to get into this later about finance. A lot of times the banks, they want to see that, yeah, you're credit worthy, or yes, you have a great idea, but how are you going to execute this? How is this going to work? Can you do it? So take for me, for instance, I can't draw or paint. So if I was to form an art business and requested $100,000 to paint, I'm talking about not paint like commercial paint, but paint like draw pictures, and they would look at me and say, "You have zero skills in this area. How are you going to make a business?" You know, I might be credit worthy, where they would give me the money to fund the tools, the print, the canvas, some of the marketing, the website, but I couldn't really execute this thing. And they would look at that like I was crazy. And they may not give me the money based upon my skill set. So sometimes formation and putting down your skills and what you can do and seeing that you can execute this business gives the bank or the lender or the investor the confidence that you know what you're doing and you can do this. Okay. So this is part of the business plan. You know, we generally go over different aspects. You know, what's your product, what's your service, who's the market, who are you trying to sell to or service to? And a lot of people say everybody. Well, that's very difficult to pull off. And so we'd like to go over, let's say, hey, you want to do a lawn service, but you maybe target people in a 5-mile radius of your house, and it's got to be in neighborhoods. So then we go and we list all the neighborhoods that are 5 miles radius from your house, and we target those homeowners, and we go to them. And so now it's not just everybody. We've targeted a specific group, so we could try to get them, and then we'll expand out later, and we could quote get everybody. But when you work it out in your business plan, you work it out in your mind and your idea that, hey, I can target some people, my ideal customer, who I'd like to cut the lawn for, and I can get this market share and then expand out from there. And that helps you focus on and accomplish a goal. And those are some of the things that when we do a business plan or we talk about the business, that you can flesh out in your mind that, hey, I can do this. I need to start here. I can get these people to buy my product or hire me, and I can expand from there. And we go over all that, and that's basically the business plan. Once we go through these concepts, and this is just part of it. And this is part of some of the things, you know, this is some of the, you don't have to do these things. Some people like this as far as business plans, but a lot of business plans are different. But again, you might have one small page that sums up who you are and what you need and what you're doing, such as need as far as money. And this is the summary. Usually this is, again, for someone who's just a banker or a lender, they might just go scan over exactly what you're doing first. And that's what the summary is. So you summarize each section of your business plan. Management could just be, hey, my name is Roman Starnes. I have 10 years experience mowing lawns. I want to start my own lawn mowing company and something like that. And part of the business plan, I think these slides are going over each section. So the company, who you are, what's your mission, means what is your goal? I want to be the best lawnmower service in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That might be my mission. I'm an LLC. I'm offering lawn care and weed eating. I want to service only South Baton Rouge, within a 5-mile radius of, let's say, LSU. And that gives an idea of who I'm targeting. How large is the company? I have 2 employees and 1 partner, and we're going to pay them per lawn mowed, give them some incentive, give them, that's what describes it out here. So when the banker says, hey, I'm going to pay myself $100,000 a year and I'm going to hire 2 people at minimum wage and this thing's going to work. And they're going to look at that like that's never going to, you can't, you're going to have to pay people, incentivize them. You're going to have to, you want them to stay around, and paying minimum wage to someone is not going to have them stay around. You're not going to have to do a great job. You're going to get what you pay for. And you can't just sit there and think I'm going to pay myself a large sum of money. There's no revenue. So you have to, when you present your business plan or present your package to the bank or anyone, you're going to show a realistic, smart, and good for everyone pay structure or financial structure. Okay. And this is part of it. Part of it when someone reads it over, especially an investor or a partner reads this over and say, hey, this looks great. You know what you're doing. This is going to work. Here's the money. That's what that's. So all these questions are getting the answer of people saying yes, assisting you with your business. Good. All right, the product. This is again what we talked about. Keep going. This is we're going to offer what you serve, what you're doing. If you have any trade secrets, so if you have a patent on something, that gives you a competitive advantage over other people. You want to list those things for the banker and the loan officer, whomever looks at it. Go ahead. This is just part of the business plan, so let's go quickly through these parts of the slide. This is part of it. We want to show, do we have inventory? Do I have a 3 lawnmowers? How much money am I going to make per lawn? Let's say I'm going to make a 50% profit per lawn. Suppliers, well, I need gas, I need oil, I need cleaning materials for my lawn equipment. Those are just examples of what some of the products. So we present to the banker, and if you don't put in that you have to have gas and oil per job, or you don't have a truck or trailer to transport your mowing equipment, they're going to look at that and say, he doesn't really know what they're doing. She doesn't know what she's doing. We need to present a complete competent case to the bank or lender or partner or investor what we're doing. Go ahead. The market, again, we talked about this a little bit. These are some of the, what are you going to do to land this business? What are you going to do to solicit the customer? Who's your ideal customer? What's your weakness as a business? What's your strength? How can we emphasize that? And this is, how we're going to advertise. A lot of things are switching fast in this economy, in this world. Brochures, are they as effective? Getting your business cards printed out, is that an effective way? Advertising in a newspaper, is that even effective? Or is it online? Is it through social media? Those are things we need to discuss, and you discuss and figure out what's the best way to target those people we've identified. So like I said, let's say that 5-mile radius in South Baton Rouge on lawnmowers. How can I target those homeowners there? What do I need to do? Is there a website that they all go to? Do they all go to social media? Can I do a Facebook ad in that zip code, which will target that zip code of homeowners? Things of that nature we will discuss about your marketing. Those are things you need to have kind of fleshed out. That's why it's in the business, fleshing out your blueprint for the future and how you're going to take action. Again, keep going. And so, Matt, again, this is you. What's your ownership? Do you have any partners? Do you have other investors? If you have a large owner, it's not you, maybe the bank may want them on the loan application. Those are small things, but they're what a banker, investor, or lender looks at, as well as someone who potentially could help you in your business. They want to see that these things are properly done. Go ahead. And here it is, you just listing. This is just all work on the list of who your people are, who's going to help do your business. Who's the key person in this business? I mean, if you have a business, you don't have the skill set, but your friend does, you just part owner in it, you may list their stuff. So if I want to open up a pharmacy, and I'm not a pharmacist, but my friend is, and they're going to be part owners, I'm just putting the money in the business fees up. But we obviously got to lean heavy on their management experience, because if I go to the bank and say, hey, I want to be a pharmacy, and he's going to look at me like, you're not a pharmacist. You know, how are you going to make this work? And if you say, hey, I'm going to pay someone minimum wage to be a pharmacist or minimum pharmacy salary, you know, they're going to look a little skeptical about giving you a little extra money, because it may not work. So that's what part of this is. So all these sections right here, we go over verbally and we codify in what's called, talk about the business plan. A lot of small, like my example, you don't really have to have a full-fledged plan out, but these concepts going over in your mind help you to basically have the business plan in your mind, or you write it down for the bank, or going forward, you have it codified. And you can always amend and change these. These are just, again, this is just writing down for everyone to know, where's your location? How much are your monthly costs? And you go through all the little factors: parking, trash, zoning, what's your monthly cost? This helps you realize exactly how much it's going to cost every month to run your business. This includes, maybe you have a minimum salary. It may include maintenance on the lawnmowers. It may include maintenance on the pharmacy itself. It could be the equipment finance for this. It could be just rent, utilities, and those bills you have to pay. And once you know exactly how much it is a month, you know how much sales you have to meet that goal. So it could be, I have a 5,000 month overhead, and I charge $100 per service for my company. Well, obviously now I need 50 sales or services per month to break even. And so you figure that out, and you look and say, hey, 50, how can I get 50 a month? That's my minimum I need. And if I target one area and it only has 50 maximum, I've got to target several areas in order to know I can get 50 clients, 50 customers to at least break even. So those are things we look at, we crunch in the financials, another part of the business plan right there. So another on the financials, that's just, how are you going to think you're going to do in a year? If I target 3 suburbs, if I target 3 neighborhoods, and they have 1,000 clients, and I can get 10%, I can get 100, and I charge 100 per. That's 10,000 a month. My overhead's only 5,000. So now I'm thinking, if I do this, I only need 10% of the clients. I can make 10,000 a month, 5,000 for expenses. I can net 5,000 a month for taxes. And any of that. Okay, so that's how you flesh it out in your financial projections to show the bank, hey, I can easily get 10% of this market within 6 months or a year, and I'll be making 50%. So those are some of the things that we talk about. That's the comprehensive business plan for you to go forward with. And then again, we talked about this early. This is the Secretary of State's website to be able to form your business. So if I wanted to form Roman LLC, I would go to this website, reserve my name, pay the fee, go through all the steps, what type of business. They like to keep up with that. And I would form it. Right now, it's cost $105 on their website to form an LLC or an S corp or any type of structure. And I would get that information. I would then go to the IRS's website and get an employer identification number, which is basically a social security number for the business. It's going to help you eventually down the line with your credit, a business credit. Not at first, you're personally going to be on the hook at first until you build some business rapport, some business connections, some business connections. And then they'll give you a checklist. You need an occupational license. You need a state sales tax ID, things of that nature you get to file for. If you don't have a service, if you have a product and you have sales tax on, you'll have to remit those tax monies to the Louisiana Department of Revenue. This will be on the checklist of all the different licenses and permits that you will need, and then the cost of each one. It's $35 for here, or $50. Those are some of the things that we do when we start a business. And I think that's the last slide on that. But yeah, this is part of the checklist: tax ID, sales, unemployment tax, insurance. So, you might need some different type of insurance or specialty insurance on your services, and there'll be links to that. Some of the IRS, they have, everybody wants to pay everyone as a contractor because obviously you don't have to pay as much taxes and whatnot, and especially when you first start out. But the IRS looks at if you pay someone more than half of their income is coming from your business, that's an employee. So I can try to have someone as a quote contractor, but if they make 50% or more, like I said, of their income from your business, they have to be an employee. That's what the IRS, that's their statute. So those are some of the things that we talk about and discuss about the type of employees. Most people are gonna have to start off with a contract. If you're low on funds, or if you're just unsure if they're gonna make it or they're gonna be part of your business, you may employ them as a contractor first and then delve into them as an employee later. So we'll go over those rules and the laws and start off what's right for you every time. And here we go, the money. Well, Miss Catherine's going to get to this. Grants are always been a myth until the coronavirus and this terrible situation we're all in. All of a sudden, there's actually grants popped up. Before that, it was always some type of myth that for a for-profit business having grants, especially for startups. But there's not really going to be any grants for startups. But like I said, if you had a business, COVID, they have been offering some grants, which has basically been a delight for a lot of people. But again, the bank, a partner, a lender, I wouldn't recommend the credit cards or things of that nature. That's something we'd go over. We want to be financially responsible. I remember when I first started off with business, I just wanted to start the business. Now, I didn't really look at the consequences of, did I have the money to start this business? Or was I willing to take cheap money, when I say cheap money, with high interest rate, to be able to do things when I didn't really know? And so some of those things we'll discuss and talk about. So we'll help you make a sound financial decision on what you need for your business, how much money you need, and where we could go, what avenues. Is it an SBA loan? Is it a private partner you can need? Is it a group of people that may, like an angel investors, venture capitalists? What stage do you need to be in this business before you seek additional funds through that, like a venture capital or an angel investor? We go over all those things. And this is for part of what Ms. Catherine's going to go through, some of the things you're going to really need when you seek financing is credit. I always think, a lot of entrepreneurs, they struggle with their credit. Sometimes they'll be at the bottom, and at times it'll ride very high. But starting a business is a responsibility, and I don't really ask, but sometimes I'll flesh out if you really have bad credit and you don't pay your bills and struggle with that, are you really going to be responsible enough to have the pressure of your own business? That's something you need to think about. Am I not ready today to do this, or do I need to be a little more responsible in 6 months or a year to start with? Those are just questions you ask the business owner ask themselves. You want to ask them, do they realize that, hey, I am ready. I am ready to do this. I can do this. And again, I guess it's part of the post-COVID. This is recent, what's happened. A lot more people starting their own business. Obviously, when you're unemployed or have laid off, or you can't do the job because of layoffs, it's an opportunity. So a lot of times when there's a crisis, there's also an opportunity. So if you get laid off, or if there's no more work in that industry right now because of the pandemic, this might be an opportune time for you to start business. Obviously, there's going to be more defaults. There's going to be more everything during this disaster. And this is stuff that you needed to do, is find out what your credit score is. Just so you'll know where you're at. If we don't have the option, if we're sitting around 500 on credit score, we know we're not, maybe not be able to go to the bank, even if we have a great idea. We might have to focus in on partners, investors, people we can talk to, friends, family, someone that might invest in your business to get to that point where you can pull your credit up or get started. So thank you so much for listening. If y'all have some questions about the startup, business plan, any legal challenges, I'm open to that.
Hey, Roman, we do have some questions in the chat box.
Okay, let's see.
The first question came from A. Butler asking about the more of the legal structure of her business. How does she know which one is best? Can you help with her between LLC and S Corp?
Right. So the LLC, if you're just by yourself or have a couple of partners, you're going to want to form an LLC, a partnership LLC. If you've got investors putting money in, but they're not day-to-day operators of this business, if they're just wanting to seek money, and you have a lot of those, that's when you would go to an S corporation. So if it's just me and two people, we're going to form an LLC. If I have 50 people putting $10,000 a piece in into the business, and they're just going to be part owners, the structure would need to be an S corp. Does that make sense? This, hey Butler.
Also, Stephen asked about a nonprofit. How do you determine the legal structure, I imagine, for a nonprofit?
Other than C3, there's a list of different type of nonprofit activity under the 501 law. And there are different 501 structures, and shows you what you have to do to not have this tax structure or be in compliance for this nonprofit. So nonprofits are handled separately or differently, but again, a lot of the times they're just like a business as far as you've got to target people, you've got to give a good product or service to people. You've got to have a marketing plan, you've got to have management, you have to have a target. So all those things work just as well for nonprofit. But the legal entity for a nonprofit, there's an application. It has to be approved federally. The nonprofit status with the IRS.
Roman, got another question about business plan. To what extent can a business plan have multiple years of projections worked in it? And if so, should it be 3 to 5 years or 5 to 10 years on your business plan?
3 to 5 is generally, the reason why is because we have no idea what's going to happen in the past 5 years or 10 years. It's very hard to project. So take my iPhone, for instance. I have a 5-year projection on I'm refurbishing and reselling iPhones. Well, in 6, 7 years, iPhone may be gone. It might not even exist. There might be another type of phone that's overtaken. There's at one time, there was BlackBerries, which were the main phones for business for years, and they got completely destroyed by smartphone technology. Nokia was the #1 leader in the 90s and early 2000s on phones worldwide, their type of phones, and they completely got wiped out by that. So it's hard to project any business or technology. It's hard to project it at all, but getting farther away from now is going to be near impossible to project and accurately how it's going to work in year 8, 9, or 10, because we don't know, and the banker's going to look at that. No one knows those types of things. So given a more what I can do this year, next year, and the year after that is basically what the bank is going to look at. Hey, we've got a 3-year projection. They're going to break even in year 2. They're going to prosper in year 3. That sounds like a workable, feasible plan. Anything more than that, it's getting to a lot of speculation and forecasting. And forecasting is the hardest business there is. What's going to happen in 2 years? Who's going to win the election? How much can we get the cure for the pandemic? I don't know. Is a hurricane going to strike us next week? We don't know these things, but the uncertainty of forecasting. So we like to keep it as short as possible to be more realistic and feasible to whomever's looking at a banker, things like that.
Hey, Lindora, we have a question on the presentation. Can you go back to the slide that shows the Secretary of State website?
Yeah.
I think that's the slide someone's asking for. And then while she does that, Roman, we have a question from Suzanne. She says they have a class listening today where they're learning how to run childcare centers. Do you recommend that they start their business plan now or after the class graduates from this childcare center learning school?
Well, I think working on a business plan would be great for now, because the reason why is the business plan is not just for the business, that's a life skill as well. Codifying what you know about yourself and your ability to execute anything. When you list down or write down who your partner, your manager, who do you want to be in business with? Those things can help you form, hey, a structural thing of going forward. I plan on taking 6 classes next spring. I want to take with my best friend, Tom and Doug, and we want to work on our projects together. And I want to graduate from this program. Those things are things you put down or write down in a schedule, and you plan for the future. And a business plan, even today, even a young child, a plan. I want to play baseball. I want to play Little League baseball and travel ball. And I want to play in high school and college. And I need to do the following things. I need to practice hitting. I need my glove. I need to watch baseball. I need to go to a coaching clinic, or I need to go to summer league. I need to run every day. I need to. Those things can help you think to plan for the future and execute your plan, even a baseball player, or even a little kid. So the business plan helps you in all aspects of life, plan for the future and work the plan and get you to your goals. And so, yes, I would recommend doing a business plan now for anything, even if it's just a school project. And that way they get a good practice of planning and goal setting and executing those things for the future.
Lindor, go to the next slide as well, Lindor. There was a second slide that followed that one. There it is right there. Mm-hmm.
And they're going to give you a checklist of these things that are below here, such as, did you get your tax ID number? Did you get your Secretary of State's paperwork that you're going to need to present to a bank or to any type of aid agency, if there's a hurricane or disaster, or to a vendor. So if you want to get credit terms with a vendor that supplies parts, they're going to want to see that you have a legal entity, you have insurance, you have these things checked off. So these are some of the things in the checklist. You need the state sales tax ID number to pay your sales tax to the state and to the local parish. Unemployment taxes with the state, you got to pay these for your employees. So if something happens to them or you lay them off, they can collect unemployment. That's a legal obligation. So the checklist is going to be presented to you by the Secretary of State. Once you form your LLC, it'll be a checklist to print out of all these things underneath here, things you need to do to complete your legal framework. Like I said, tax ID, state sales ID,
Sounds good.
occupational license, insurance you may need, things like that.
All righty. Thank you, Roman. That's all the questions that we have. If you all have any other questions for Roman, you can always send him an email at rstorns@louisianasbdc.org.
All right. Thank you so much, Roman.
Thank you.
And now, if you see, I do have in the presentation a list of all the LSBDC regional centers. So if you're really serious about getting your business started, please check out one of these regional centers that's close to you and get some of them at the regional center to help you and help you to get your business started. We want to send a shout out to St. Joseph Missionary Baptist Church for hosting us today through their Zoom, and also for putting us out live on Facebook and streaming live, right? I think. So we want to thank you so very much. And now we're down to the good part. And I did have some announcements of some upcoming events. So please, if you want to get into more in-depth of getting your business started and doing more things and making your business work, I do have some upcoming events coming up. So just check the Center IC website, the LSBDC website, and it'll give you more information on these webinars. Now we're going to hear from Ms. Catherine Freelow with LiftFund and find out where to get the money from.
Catherine, we already got some questions about funding and financing, so everybody's excited for you.
Okay, well, great. Thank you all so much. Unfortunately, we are kind of pushing up against the hour, so I'm going to probably go through this like a double park taxi in New York City. So I apologize, but I do want to try to get through this program here.
Don't
Go ahead and go
rush.
to the
Take
next.
your time, sweetheart.
Take your time.
Okay. All right. So anyway, we're going to talk about a few things. And one is the entrepreneur in you, which Roman touched, planning your plan, working your plan your credit, and planning your capital. And this is all very integrated together on how you will be successful in your business. Next slide. All right, so really when you're an entrepreneur, you know that you have to organize your business, you have to operate it, but you are taking on greater risk than anybody else. Some people are adverse to risk. Some people want to do this, but they're a little bit scared. And so these are the kind of things that you have to think about. Next slide. All right, so in this part, when you have your business plan, and Roman touched upon this, but as you're doing your business plan, you need to think about, is it making sense? And how much are you willing to risk? And what are you willing to give up? In anything that you do, in any endeavor that you want to go for, you know you're going to have to give up something. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about finding your passion, doing your research, knowing your market, have your goals, and of course, it's always about the Louisiana Small Business Development Center. I'm a huge fan of all the small business development centers. So finding your passion. You know, one thing that Roman said, if the market is saturated in a whole bunch of businesses, even though you're passionate about it, maybe there's something a little bit different that you can go into. So if you love to be a baker, but yet there's 50 bakeries in your town, what is it that you can do different? Maybe you become the person who teaches other people how to bake. Maybe you supply the bakers. You know, these are the kind of things that you can do, but you have to have that passion. So as C.S. Lewis says, you're never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. Next slide. All right, so research. This is where the SBDC is going to come in. I have been working with small business development centers all over Texas and Louisiana. These guys, when you make an appointment with them, are really going to help you do your research, especially in the markets that you want to go in. So you really need to have a brainstorming session, doing your research, finding out what the best way is for how to really get this business plan, and defining who your clients are. Next slide, please. All right. And one of the things that Roman did talk about is your market. You know, you have to have a target market. You have to have your product, your price. Where are you going to sell this in your promotion? And I will tell you from personal experience, do not count on friends and family to buy your products. They will let you down. I had a restaurant at the beginning of my life with my first husband, and I was thinking, oh, all my friends are going to come eat with me. Oh, no, they do not come eat with you. So these are the things that you have to understand, that this is what happened. Next slide, please.
That's true.
All right. So setting goals. You know, we talked about we talked a little bit about goal setting, but one of the ways I like to set my goals is being smart about it. So say if you have your business and maybe you are mowing lawns, like we used that one earlier, be specific on what you want to do. If you want to add 2 customers a week to your business, how are you going to measure that? So that's where you're measuring, I'm going to add 2 customers. Is this going to be attainable? And is it going to be relevant? And how is it going to be time-based? So you always need to have that time base in there. So if you're going to add 2 customers, how are you going to do that? And what do you think the best way is to add customers? Is going out to your own clients and asking them for referrals. People always forget to ask for the referral. So when you finish up a job, or you're doing something, or maybe you've got that daycare and you want 10 more children, Ask the mothers and fathers who drop their kids off, hey, do you have any friends and family that may need our services or have small children? Can I send them something? Can I write them a note? So these are the things that you need to really think about and make it measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. Say, hey, I'm going to try this for the next month and ask every single one of my customers, one a day, 30 of them, who can I call to get a referral from? Next slide, please. Make an appointment with the LSBDC when you start this business plan, because they're the ones that are going to help you kind of center you in, focus you on your market, what the demographics are, and they have all of this information for you. Next slide, please. All right, so let's talk about the credit and your banking and your personal credit and your tool belt. All right, next slide. There's all kinds of banks. You've got the traditional banks in your different towns. You've got credit unions, but there's also other financial institutions. My particular financial institution, LiftFund, is what we call a CDFI, a Certified Development Financial Institution. We do not have banks. We do not have accounts. All we do is lend money, and we're a nonprofit. So we do lend money to folks that may not be able to get traditional banks. With traditional banks, that's where you're going to have all of the products and services that you need: credit cards, loans, savings accounts, and business accounts. Credit unions usually just do personal stuff. Some do business accounts and things like that. And then there's myself, the other financial institutions. The things that you need to remember when you're looking for a bank is make a friend. Consider a banker as a friend. And if you're going into business and you have been banking with someone, ask them if they have a business banking and is there someone that they can refer you to, and just get to talk to them, go by and say hello, kind of let them get to know you. And when you do have a business, and say you're having a trucking business and you're traveling from state to state, do you want a bank that's more national? So that way, if you have to make deposits or take care of transactions, you can go into a local branch there. Or do you want to be more centered in your town? And then the things that you need to think about are the fees and services. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask. Maybe you find one banker that doesn't really kind of understand you, go to another branch or ask them, hey, is there somebody else you can refer me to? Always ask. I read it in a book. You ask, you shall receive. Next slide, please. Next slide. All right, so let's talk about your personal credit. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when it comes to banking in a little bit later. Things to remember about credit is, as you have credit cards and things like that, try to keep your balances 20% less than what your credit balance is available. So say you've got a credit card and it's $1,000 that you're allowed to have, it's always good to use that credit card, but then pay it down and try not to go all the way up to the $1,000. You want to stay more like the $800 or less. Maintain a variety of credit cards. That doesn't mean you have to have 20 credit cards, but it does mean that you can have, maybe you have a regular credit card with Capital One or a Visa card like that. Maybe you have a Home Depot card to pay for construction or some of your supplies that you need, but you can have a couple of little bit of varieties. And part of that variety is your home mortgage or your car loan. So one of the things too is do not open a whole bunch of credit at the same time. So don't say, hey, I'm going to start up my business and I'm going to open a credit card at Lowe's and a credit card at Home Depot and a Visa MasterCard and this. You know what? Just kind of let it come naturally. And so, because otherwise it will affect your credit. So keep up with your payments. All right. Do not make late payments. Do not go over your limits. And no co-signing. That is one of my biggest things. And then I think if the slide could move up a little bit, Lindor, I don't know if it does, but I think there was something else down there. Oh, no. Okay, yes, no co-signing. So All right, next slide. All right, so I always like to say, if you are owning a business, you need a tool belt. And the tool belt consists of a banker, CPA, a bookkeeper, a lawyer, trusted advisors, that would be the LSBDC, and then mentors. And so you need to talk to people and talk to other folks, even your competition. Your competition will tell you more than you realize. And they'll be happy to talk to you. And you can say, hey, I want to open up a daycare. What are some of the challenges that you had when opening up a daycare? You would be surprised. A lot of people will help you and give you a ton of information about opening businesses. Next slide, please. All right, so this is where we're going to go into and talk about what banks look at if you're going to get lending. And it's not just the banks, it's the credit union, it's the specialty lendings like my company does. And we call it the 5 C's of credit. And there's 5 of them, and it's character, capacity, capital, collateral, conditions. All right, next slide, please. Character depends on who you are, and it is the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. So what does the character mean to you? Next slide, please. So the real integrity, Oprah Winfrey says, is doing the right thing, knowing that nobody's going to know whether you did it or not. Where Tiger Woods is like, people really didn't understand that when he grew up. He wasn't the talented, he was never the biggest, I was never the fastest or the strongest, but it was his work ethic that got him there. And I think that's where you have to balance that work ethic and the love for what you do. Next slide, please. All right, so character also has to do with that credit history. And so the ability to repay debt and to demonstrate that you have that responsibility of repaying debt. In my former life, I was a large business banker for a very large bank, nationally and internationally known. And I had a client that told me that the only thing that they have control over, besides the way they react to people, is how they pay their bills and do they pay them on time. And so when you really think about it, that's the only thing that you do have control over is your actions. And your actions are part of your character. So some of these things are the number type of accounts, how long has the account been open, how much is owed, what's the availability of credit, are bills paid on time, how many credit inquiries have you had? Every time you have a credit inquiry, it's going to lower your FICO score, which was called the Fair Isaac Corporation, the FICO score, and that's what's going to lower it. And banks look at that. And who is the FICO? Bill Fair and Earl Isaac. In 1956, an engineer and a mathematician invented algorithms scoring and to predict customers' behavior. And that's what bankers are doing. We're trying to predict your behavior. How can you pay? Will you pay? Do you have control? What is your risk rating? Are you going to be a risk to the bank? And the way the interest rates work, the lower risk you are, the better interest rates you're going to have. The higher risk you are, the higher interest rates you're going to have. And that's what they look. So if you have a home mortgage, is completely different from a business credit because home mortgages are naturally lower. You're always going to pay on your house because you don't want to lose your home. But a business, that's different. That's a higher risk. And so these are the things that banks really look at. Next slide, please. Okay, capacity. Capacity is really your ability to repay the loan against recurring debts and accessing. And we as bankers want to look at what is your debt to income ratio. Have you pushed all your credit cards to the limit? And if you want money, what is that going to do to you in your business if you've pushed all your credit cards up to the limit? We also look at, have you got a lot of credit outstanding, small balances to where your credit is available? So say if we lend you $100,000 and you have to pay that note, but then you have available credit available of $100,000 on your credit cards and stuff, home equity loans. And then what would happen if you had issues, say you broke your leg and all of your credit cards started going up again? Well, how are you going to be able to handle both of those debts? So we think about that in the capacity to repay a loan. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick thing, you know, when you're talking about your debts or your expenses, you can look at it. Hey, this is what this is how we do it in the banking world. We're going to look at what you do at rent, how much automobile, insurance, utilities, phone, internet, food, healthcare, other. And so what are all those expenses? Next slide. And as you put those monthly income and you put your expenses in there, whatever is left over is what can go into the pot as extra money for you to save up in order to start your business. Next slide, please. So what we're going to talk about is about capital, and that is the wealth in the form of money or other assets owned by a person or a company, available or contributed to a particular purpose, such as starting a business. So when we talk about that capital, one of the things as you're going in and doing your business plan and working on your plan, and say that you go into the state and you purchase your Secretary of State and you get your LLC and you do all of that, please, please, please keep all your receipts together. Start a spreadsheet. Show everything that you have paid for in the business plan for the business, and keep all of that together. Paid receipts, whether it's paid checks or showing that you paid your credit card down for certain things. This is very important to put the skin in the game for your capital. And that's what we all want, is the bankers want and the SBA wants. We all want to see you have some skin in the game, because if you have skin in the game and we put skin in the game, there's less likely to default. So Napoleon Hill wrote a book, Think and Grow Rich, and if you've never read it, you should. Sometimes I find it in Goodwill for 50 cents, a little paperback. And he said, great achievement is usually born out of great sacrifice. And there are going to be those sacrifices that you have to do to access capital. Next slide, please. Collateral, the bank or other lending institutions would like to pledge collateral. So this is like security for the repayment of the loan in case you go into default. So if you have a daycare and you're purchasing a daycare, or you purchase land and you're building a daycare, that's the real estate. If you have a trucking company, or even if you are just mowing lawns and you've got a truck and a trailer and lawnmowers and everything, you know, they want to take a lien on all of that stuff. So furniture, fixtures, equipment. And a lien is what we call the UCC lien. It's a Uniform Commercial Code. It's an accepted law in the United States, which pertains to commercial lending. It benefits the lender by establishing that you are the debtor, and in default or bankruptcy, we are able to take all of your collateral. So next slide, please. All right, conditions are really, really important. And Roman talked a little bit about this when we were talking about the projections. A lot of banks like to see 3 years worth of projections broken down monthly, and maybe 2 more years, the fourth and fifth year, just yearly. So conditions are interest rate, principal amount, industry, the local economy, the national economy, and all of these things, you know, really have a way to show how it stresses out the economy. You know, back in the 80s, interest rates were super high, 17% just for a car or a home mortgage. It was crazy back then, you know, and when you really think about it, the conditions are, it's a noun. It's circumstances affecting the way in which people live and work regarding their safety or well-being, but then it's also a verb because it can also be a significant influence or a determined manner of which outcomes come. So next slide, please. So conditions, significant economic factors. Locally in Louisiana, we had two factors that kind of affected conditions. And nationally, we had two years, I'm pointing out, 2008 and 2020 nationally. Next slide, please. So locally in Louisiana, it didn't affect some of the north part of Louisiana, but it did affect in the way people came into your cities. So in 2005, we had Hurricane Katrina, one of the deadliest hurricanes. 2010, we had the blowout that killed 11 crewmen and then left one of the largest oil spills to affect our coastline. Nationally, we had the financial crisis of 2007, 2008, where we had the housing market implode. And then, of course, 2020, we're all suffering that right now, COVID. Next slide, please. All right. So equipping you with the knowledge is the character and the capacity, the collateral, the conditions, and all of these perplexities, confusion, and the whole thing in America arises, you know, in our Constitution of Confederations. And this is an old quote, not from what the honors or virtues, it's just the downright ignorance of the nature of coin and credit and circulations. So if you're going into the SBDC, please, please, please ask questions. These folks have the knowledge and they have the capacity to help you, but they also have a network to give you suggestions on who you need to go see as banks. Next slide, please. All right, so here is it, questions. This is my information. Also, you can email me if you have other things that you want to talk about. If there's something else that you want to talk about more personally and want to discuss it, please take my cell phone number, my business cell phone number, call or text me, and we can set up a time when I can visit with you. Part of my job with my nonprofit is technical assistance, and so we track all that technical assistance in order to get grants and funding and to help loan more money out to you. So that's it with my presentation. I want to thank everybody. Durand at St. Joseph. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lindora.
Thank you so much.
So far, we really have just one question that came in right as you were getting started, is financing. She says Tawana says, I've already completed steps 1 through 4 as far as getting her business registered. She's gotten a few other things done as far as opening the business account and even has a website built, but her problem now is financing. What suggestions can we give her, and how does she go about getting investors?
Okay, well, Tawana, one of the things that you need to do is take a look at your credit report. And for my company and some of the other CDFIs that do what I do, they really like to see that you have been paying your bills in a timely manner, minimum 6 months, and that there's no outstanding bankruptcies, no outstanding federal liens, like if you have defaulted on a student loan. That's one thing that banks aren't going to look at. As in finding investors, you may want to put the word out there, in whether you're in church or in other organizations that you belong to. You would be surprised who can come forth, or the most unlikely people that you think of, saying, hey, I like what you do and I want to invest in you. But in order for you to find those investors, you're going to have that business plan together. And one of the things that I wanted to share too about your business plan is you have to remember when you're going into a bank that it's not necessarily that banker you're talking to that's going to be lending you the money. It may be someone in a cubicle at the age of 28, 29, 30, 35 that is looking at your business plan. And you have to put those word pictures together and to be able to help them associate on how truly passionate you are in your business plan. But that's what I would do, Tawana, is get something together that's very passionate about what you're doing in order for someone to ask you more questions about, hey, how can I invest in this and what would this look like it for me?
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Calandra was asking if the presentation could be sent to the email addresses of the participants. The answer to that is yes. Lindora will send
Yes.
an email to you all who participated today. Also, this
Yes.
actual video is available as well. Again, it's been streamed live over Facebook at St. Joseph MBC West Monroe, which is also, it can be found on our website at stjosephmbcwestmonroe.org.
Hey, yay. Great. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming and participating and taking time out on this Saturday. You have another question?
Asking if it's okay. Suzanne, I guess from the Child Care Center, they're asking if they can call Ms. Freelo to brainstorm.
Absolutely. Call me right now. Take my phone number down, and I'll be happy to brainstorm with you all right this minute.
Oh, great. That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Stearns. Thank you for this time today on your Saturday. Ms. Freelo, thank you so very much, both of you all, and a special thanks to Mr. Deron Talley, who tolerates me and helps me and make me look good, and I really appreciate you. And I want to send a special thanks out to our director, State Director, Ms. Carla Holland, for taking time out also to come and say hello to everyone. It's been really great. I hope that you got some great information, and if you have any more questions or want to do any follow-ups, please don't hesitate to contact any of us. All three of our contact information is in, four of us, it's in the presentation, and I will make sure that everyone gets a copy of this presentation. Again, we say thank you. I think Ron had something else to say.
One last question from Tamaya Williams. What is the risk of receiving funds for a staffing company? The risk of receiving funds for a staffing company. If either of you could speak to that real quickly. If not,
I think I can. Staffing companies are good companies, because if you have professionals, say if you're staffing at home health care, it's a big, big industry right now. But really that business plan is what's going to capture that bank in order to lend you money. And that's where you're going to use the SBDC to help you with that.
Good deal. Anyone else?
that's all we have. Thank you all for participating.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.